Hey, I'm Justin.
This is Chaz.
Join us as we look back together, but learn to stay present.
Come with us as we rise up with hope on the horizon.
This is the podcast of extraordinary millennial gentlemen.
Welcome, everybody. Here with my good friends today. Justin's back, and we've got Perry with us today joining. Thanks for being here, Perry.
Thank you, Perry.
Long time coming. It's kind of fun because I don't think you two probably have seen each other in 10 plus years. So we were back,
Justin,
back in college, man.
I'm looking at you, Justin. I'm like, I know this guy.
We've seen each other many times, but not for 10 years at least.
Yeah.
Were you one of Chaz's roommates?
Yes.
Yeah.
There it is.
I remember everything now. It's all
podcast over.
100% just came back right there.
Nice.
That's awesome. This should be pretty fun. I'm excited. Been looking forward to this episode for a while. But Perry, to kick us off, we're curious. We kind of know you from those college days, but give us a little background, whatever stands out in your mind, kind of like where you grew up, what were you like pre-meeting us, how was high school, those type of things.
Yeah, we don't know that phase of your life. I don't, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, how much time we get? I mean, all right, I'm gonna give you the Cliff Notes version of the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that works.
Cliff Notes,
the Perry notes.
Let's see. High level date, like facts. Born in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Mm-hmm. Little island boy. Right now I'm on the continent trying to figure it out. It's a big place over here, but it's all good. Grew up in the bush, as they say, right?
Yeah,
in the country. A small town named Vega de Europe, which was the village I grew up in. It was close to a bigger city called Sangre Grande, which used to be the capital of my country, up until the real capital took over, which is Port of Spain. Let's see. That's on the east of the island in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago. There are 5 children. Well, let me take that back. With my mom, my dad had 5 kids. He has a few more out there. So there's 9 of us that we know about, if you know what I mean. Right? So I mean, it's all good. But with my mom and the siblings I really grew up with and things like that, there are 5 of us, 1 older brother and 3 younger sisters. And my mom was a single mom growing up, right? From the age I was, about 6.5, she was a single mom, right? Single mom, thereabouts. And so, it was an interesting life growing up, Let's see. I moved a lot. I think before I turned 20, I'd moved more than 20 times.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes moving back to the same area, but in terms of packing up, picking up, and leaving, about 20 times before I turned 20. But, it's all good. There are 2 ways to look at that, right? There is, what am I leaving and who am I leaving, or where am I going to and who I get to meet? And so early on, I decided to look at it on that flip side, and every time we moved, it was an adventure. You know what I'm saying? Who am I going to make friends with, and that kind of stuff. I went to school, high school, that is, on average, about 1.5 to 2 hours from where I lived. I went to school in the big city, and I lived over in the country area. And school would start at 7:30 in the morning. So you know what time I was waking up. It was crazy. But it was good, though. I mean, I went to a really, really good high school. I got really good grades, so I got to go there. And it was a school called Queen's Royal College. They call it the prestige school on the island. An old grammar school from back in the day. Not a really, like, we have other schools that are called comprehensives that have things like woodwork and metalwork and that kind of stuff. We didn't have that in our school. We learned like languages like French and Spanish and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I did that, and always thought I was going to see America when I turned like 40. Sold half of my possessions. I could come for like a week. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So that was like my reality at the time. Opportunity came, a miracle happened. My mother's cousin, we call him Uncle Roger, he came to Trinidad, and in my senior year of high school, I was like, hey, I want to help your boys get to the university. He told my mom that. And I was keen, right? So I had started what they call A levels in my country, right? That's like pre-college type stuff. And I had this bright idea. I called my uncle in the beginning of September, and I said, "Hey, I'm young enough to maybe do my senior year of high school again and write SATs," because I thought SATs was this high school exam, not knowing that really SATs is like this external thing that you can do anytime, right? And he was like, "Oh, let me look into something." So he looked into some stuff, and then he called me back on September 28th at 9 p.m. my country's time.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Perry, pack your bags. You're leaving on Tuesday, 4 days from now,
Wow.
Friday. Pack your bags. You got an interview at a high school here in New York City. If you get in, you stay. We figure it out.
Yeah.
If you don't get in, you stay for a couple of weeks of vacation and go back to school in Trinidad."
Wow.
And I was like, "Mom, I gotta go." So
Yeah.
luckily, something had impressed on her to get the passports for me and my brother, and I was able to pack my bags. I told like 5 of my friends that I was leaving the island and nobody else. I barely even told my cousins, I just kind of left because I didn't want anybody to be like, "Oh, he's going over there." And then I show back up a week later. They're like, "Oh, what happened?"
Oh, I got you. Yeah. A little bit of a parachute, a little bit of a plan. Like,
I
just went for this
for a
thing.
week to hang out. What?
Yeah.
But I went and I got into school and I stayed. So
Nice.
6 months later, I had people. That was back in the day with like AOL. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Had people hit me up on AOL being like, "Perry, you still alive? Like what? Where you go?" And the rest, as I say, was history. I went to school in New York City for my senior year again.
Yeah.
The next day, I got into university a year earlier. Started at Polytechnic University over there. Played basketball for them. That was fun. And then after that, I went and served a mission for my church. And 2 years later, lived in London for a year. Then boom, BYU Idaho. Come full circle to where I met you guys. So
Wow.
that's a
What a
little bit
journey.
about me, Got married eventually at BYU Idaho, but that, later on in the story. So that's a little bit about my background, where I came from and stuff like that.
I honestly, knowing you for how long I have, I knew little to none of that, which just kind of blows my mind. So I'm glad we met when we did, and that you were able to, to make all of that happen. That's the inside story scoop here, right? I mean, if anybody else knows Perry out there, this is, just kind of crazy. So
I've got to know from the number of times you transitioned, right? You mentioned before 20 times, right? But then also that amazing just transformation, island life, the States, university. There's enough of those like rites of passage in and of themselves, like school, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out what you want to do with your life. How, I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer. Maybe I'm just in awe, but how do you gain that perspective that you did with the move 20 times, roll with the punches. We're going to make the best out of this.
That's a good question. So, I think I was really prepared to move to America because I moved so many times on my island, right?
Gotcha.
Early on, I kind of figured out, I understood the situation our family was in. My mom being a single mom and having to hustle, there's lots of stories of her sacrificing for us. And just being, I was positive, right? I chose to be positive. And that didn't mean that, during the maybe summer months, I wouldn't go back to the places I lived because I had friends there. Yeah, I would, right? I'd go and still stay connected with them. But it was one of those things where I had to make a decision where, I had to choose to be positive. But also I was going to school from the age of 12. I was going to school 2 hours away from my house. Yeah. So by myself, right? My mom wasn't dropping me off. So I had to travel. Very early on. You had to just learn to be independent, and otherwise the world will eat you up, And so, it was one of those things. And it was good for me because I had big dreams, right? I had an uncle in Trinidad. He was an engineer, and he's the one who kind of made me want to be an engineer. And it was one of those things where I was like, all right, if I have to be an engineer, here's what I got to do. and I have to go to university. I have to figure it out. My original plan was to get a scholarship in my country and go to the university in my country. But,
Gotcha.
life turns out I got to America in half the time I thought I would.
Nice.
So it's good. And when I came here, America was, New York City is big, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, from
the island,
the tallest building at the time on the island. Listen, the tallest building was like 22 stories on the island, right? And I thought that was like huge. We'd be looking up at that building like, oh my gosh, it's 22 stories, And then when I came to New York, I won for the first 2 weeks, I was walking around like this, I didn't even see people. Like I was there's buildings everywhere, And then after 2 weeks, my face kind of dropped, and I realized, whoa, there's people around. Oh, and then you learn that people are people wherever you go. Mm-hmm. Different country, it doesn't matter. People are people, and you just roll. You figure out how to roll around these people. I tried telling them good morning in New York City. That didn't fly.
Yeah. New York State of mind.
Things. Yeah. You can't. Good morning is like, why are you talking to me? Like, you want something? Like, who are you? Like, no, don't talk to me. So, it's one of the things. But it was good though. And I would say my mom and her positive, I guess, outlook on life also influenced my outlook on life, right? She had to be positive because she had to have faith that she could take care of 5 kids on her own. Otherwise we'd be in trouble.
It was all against her. So roll over and it's over, or fight every day.
Every day you gotta go to battle for your kids, right? You have a higher purpose. So, and I couldn't let her down, So she taught us early on that education would save us from poverty, right?
Gotcha.
That was a big lesson. Education would save us from poverty. So I took that lesson to heart and been trying to implement that ever since.
Oof, Chaz.
Yeah. No, I mean,
so much to unpack.
With all that, Perry, it's explaining to me, well, for one, I get the whole engineering thing now, right? I mean, that pieces it together, but some of our other conversations and some of the more recent stuff you're into and doing, I think probably really stem from those kind of life lessons that you've learned. You're more entrepreneurial. You're more out there in the sales industry. You make friends with everybody you meet and everybody likes you. So, I mean, all those things I think are big, it's a big launch pad to launch from. Right. So, and I think I've seen, that with a lot of success and everything you're doing, which feel free to, mention anything you want to there. But what I'm thinking is, how are you doing what you do from kind of a time perspective? I mean, and again, you can throw out some names of stuff you're doing, or you can keep it general, but just give us like an idea in a day in a life or week or whatever with everything you do. Cause I kind of know, so I want Justin to hear this. And then how are you balancing all that? How you manage that? Any tips and tricks?
Yeah, that's a good
there's
question.
A lot there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. So 2 things. First, let's circle back to what you said, right? That basis that I kind of highlighted. When I served my mission, that was an even bigger springboard in terms of my how I view the world. Yeah. Right. So the basis of being positive and things like that came from my mom, and being hardworking came from my upbringing, and being able to roll with the punches. All that stuff came from there.
Yeah.
On the mission, however, how I view other people is what dramatically changed. Right.
Okay.
So before, and to summarize that, before the mission, they were my family, they were friends, and then they were strangers, people I don't know.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
And I viewed everybody as a stranger. Who wasn't in that circle, right? Cousins and whatever else, they were fine. After the mission, I had a very transformative experience there that has caused me now to view everybody as family. It don't matter like where you come from. Like you could be just the guy from like the deepest parts of China or something. If I'm meeting you for the first time, you're my brother or my sister. I just can't remember your name right now. So like, what's your name?
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep it moving, right?
Yeah.
So that is, I would say, one of the guiding stars of my life. That We're all family. We are all pulling together, and I have immense love for you, right? I want you to be extremely successful, whoever you are, right? And we can differ on every single point in our lives. We can be on complete opposite trajectories. It doesn't sway how I view you as an individual, right? I still view you as my brother or sister or a family member, and I want you to be super successful in whatever you put your heart to. That is good, right? I mean, I don't want you to go blow anybody up, but I'm saying, we want to be.
That's an amazing starting point. Just the average person. It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's how I roll, right? Like everybody is awesome, and so kind of just want to make sure we kind of capture that. That kind of educates a lot of things I do right now. But in answer to your question, there's a lot of things that I do. I'm in sales. That's my main thing. I'm in IT sales. I work for a company called SHI. It's pretty awesome. And man, that's a lot of work, right? And that's like 60-hour days sometimes.
Wow. Yeah.
Because, the customers I take care of are pretty demanding, right?
Right.
And, if they're going to pay a lot of money for something, they expect a lot out of you. Yeah. And so there's that, right? That's what's going on there. I have a big desire to not be working for the man by June 22nd, 2025. That's my stake in the ground. And it's not just in the dirt. It's like it's inside of concrete that has rebar and like extra reinforced. You know what I'm saying? Like it's there. It's not moving.
It's set.
Right. So because of that, right, I have been making decisions over the last year and a half or 2 years or so to drive to that. And I started having a lot of desires to not just be my own boss, but way more than that, to be free. I want to be free. Like my huge desire is to be free. I want to, and freedom for me, my definition may be crazy, but this is my definition. Freedom for me is to be able to wake up in the morning and do what I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, wherever I want. Like, just, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if I wake up in the morning, I'm like, you know what? I want to go to Bali. I buy a ticket and I'm gone. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like I want to be free to make that decision. Or if somebody says, hey, there's a mudslide in Nepal and they need volunteers, I'm out, right? I want to go there. Yeah, the idea is I want to be free to serve, free to experience life, but also very, very free to serve. So if the call comes, there's no thinking, oh, how do I do this? How do I plan? How do I make accommodation? It's let's roll. Yeah. So in order to be free to do that stuff, I need to be able to have enough financial resources coming in that my family is taken care of. And I also have resources to help and be a blessing to other people. And that's the main driver. So to do that, I can try to climb the ladder in corporate America.
Right.
Or as Robert Kiyosaki says, you can either climb the ladder or you can own the ladder. And I have decided I would rather own the ladder, have other people climb it, right? And I just take the cream off the top. So that makes me want to start small businesses. I started an electrical company with a friend of mine, and currently I'm a 50% owner in that. And then I have another friend. He's has an entrepreneurial mind. He's always hustling, right? So I've been wanting to do something with him for a while. And we started an entertainment brand, and we also, part of that, we have books and we have cartoons and we have mobile games coming out. But right now we are focusing on our healthy pet product line. And so we have a couple of things going on there. And then, I'm looking at investments, stocks, other things, crypto. I'm also looking at commercial real estate. I have looking at that. I got my real estate license a couple of years ago. Looking to renew that in the next couple of months here. So I have all those things going on, and then I have a very, very kind of like a project that's near and dear to my heart, which is helping minorities with their financial knowledge. Right. And also helping small businesses, especially minority small businesses, with anything that they need, being like a business
consultant of sorts.
Consultant.
But more than that, right? Your aim is not ownership in their company. It's just elevate their ideas. Show them where the resources are.
I want them to be successful. Exactly. Yeah. Well, not just that, right? Like if they need certain resources, maybe my consultancy provides that, or honestly, to be a connector of dots, connector of people.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
If I know somebody that they can leverage in order to get their business better, I connect those dots. Hey, if I get a little fee on the side, that's no problem. But really and truly is connecting those dots so that they have resources that they can leverage to springboard them. If they need ideas, if they need vision, if they need organizational structure remix, all of that stuff, understanding how to leverage corporate business finance and things like that. Like all those things. So I'm partnering with a lawyer here in Austin, and we're putting together some material, and we're going to be that's going to be like a 2021 project that we get off the ground. But those are like my babies, right? That's all the things I'm kind of working towards. So that in the next 3 to 4 years from now, no, it's about 4.5 years from now, those things should be on autopilot, bringing in the necessary resources I need. And if there's any one of those things I'm involved in, it's going to be the last one I just mentioned, right? Because that's focused on individuals and helping them elevate. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. But how do I keep organized? Well,
I mean, it's a small list you gave
it's hard,
us. I mean, I don't know.
Of lifelong
I don't even know where you're going to go from here, because it's like.
So there's an apostle in the church. His name is Elder Bentner. You guys might know him. He gave a talk, and in his talk a few years ago, he talked about instead of juggling balls, keeping plates spinning, right? Mm-hmm. And that's currently what I do right now. It's not the best method necessarily, but currently what I do is I try to focus on by the businesses or areas that need to be kept spinning for a little while, right? And then once I feel that thing is spinning really well, I step back and I focus on another area. That's one thing. Also, recently, I've started to invest in professional coaching. And so that is also something I would highly recommend, where it really stretches you, and it allows a person in to have that objective perspective, and takes you out of the weeds and allows you to see that forest for what it is, right? And that's really helping me right now and driving me forward. And then I would say the last thing I would say is leverage as many resources as you can, right? If like with my SHI job, I have lots of resources and I need to be able to leverage them better rather than me doing everything. I leverage them to do things that I don't have to be doing. So I would say those are the three things there. Other things that I'm currently doing. Things I'm working on, however, are working on planning my days better. Yeah. Right. And I have this friend. His name is Chaz. I don't know if you've heard of him. Chaz. Yeah. He's put me onto some resources there, and that's actually going to be very helpful. And then. So there's that planning aspect of every day. Start with a plan. Basically, going back to my missionary days, right? Like start with a plan every day. Start with a weekly plan, a daily plan, what's your monthly plan, those kind of things, and keep going. I don't know. Does that answer your question, Chaz?
Yeah. No, I think that's a good, good tips for anybody wherever you're at in the spectrum. You got more going on, less going on, doesn't really matter. But I think key principles that any of us can utilize and keep focusing on.
Absolutely. I would say one more thing. You have to have a make it happen attitude. So on my mission, there, and you can hear me reference my mission a little bit, because I said, well, that was another springboard moment for me, right?
Yeah.
There was this one missionary, and he had met a person, and they had said, "Hey, you guys have all these self-fulfilling prophecies or whatever." And because you guys say stuff and then you go do stuff and it make it happen. And I'm like, and he's like, "Well, isn't that what you're supposed to do?" Right. So ever since then, we kind of adopted something in the mission where we like the make it happen mission. If you say you're going to do it, if you say that, you got to do it. You get it done.
Yeah.
Like, no excuses. And so for me, that's the attitude I have as well. You have to have that attitude. When you have a lot of things going on, a lot of demands on your time, and you're focusing here and there, especially if you're making commitments to people, you have to keep those commitments and make it happen. No excuses. If you have to stay up all night, stay up all night. If you have to do it faster, do it faster. If you have to do it smarter, do it smarter. If you have to read a book in order to learn something new, in order for you to do it better, you do that. Whatever you have to do to be your best and keep the commitments you've made, you have to have that attitude. You can't be like making excuses.
Hey, thanks for spending some time with us today. Hope you find hope and joy throughout this upcoming week. If you've liked this podcast, please hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you next week.